It's a blessing to welcome on one of the top players in Florida Atlantic history. Now the man that's returning back home to Georgia, Jailyn Ingram. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty good.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's kind of head into this. Obviously, it's been a crazy transfer process for a lot of the country, but you're able to return back home now for your final year eligibility, returning home to Georgia. Take us through how you're feeling right now.
I feel really good about it. Coming back home, being able to play in front of people I played through for my whole life. So it feels pretty good.
This hasn't always been your story. I mean, obviously, you came out of high school, you had some offers, you ended up choosing to go to Florida Atlantic, but now you come around, like I said, now you come back home to Georgia and you get to play your final year in front of family, in front of fans. But take us through why Georgia's the school you chose.
It was basically about opportunity. The resources, it's an unbelievable school. It's close to home. I just believe in, what me and Tom Crean talked about as far as how I'll fit in through the offense, the team and everything like that.
Let's kind of go back to this story because, like I said, you coming from Georgia. So, what was like growing up out there?
But where I'm from up there is like it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. It's not too much to do. So, that's why I think I stuck to basketball. It was pretty much the only thing to do, play sports. And I just developed some type of relationship with basketball.
And Georgia as a whole is a state that obviously is one of, if not the best state in terms of basketball. We see stars constantly coming out of there. So, what was like growing up out there in terms of the basketball atmosphere?
It's big. Like I said, there's not a lot of people where I'm from. Obviously, a lot of guys, it's a lot of towns like that. So guys, focus on sports, help them keep going. So like the competition, it was very high. You definitely would play against a lot of guys every weekend through like AAU or some leagues and things like that with the high school. So it's definitely like the competition level is high. So, I think that's why there's so much success from the state.
Now, I know you weren't just always about basketball. I know you also pursued football for a little bit too. You got a lot of offers to play even at Power Five schools for football. Walk us through that a little bit.
Well, yeah, I decided to play football my junior year of high school.
Hmm.
Uh, the coaches had wanted me to play, since I was a freshman, but I never really took it serious. So
Hmm.
my junior year, I decided to give it a chance. I had a lot of success actually, and one of my coaches asked me did I want to be recruited for it. So I said, yeah, like why not?
Hmm.
And so once my name got out there, like it just blew up. Everybody pretty much contacted me from state like schools, Florida State, Georgia, Tennessee, Michigan, Mississippi State. So schools like that all got in contact with me, and it just went from there. Honestly,
Was that ever something you seriously pursued in terms of college? Like, was that something you actually were seriously looking at, or was it just something that, okay, I want basketball first. If football happened to come along with it, I might do that, or how do you kind of balance that in terms of looking at college?
at first I didn't take it serious, until I actually seen like, okay, like dang, this another opportunity. So I started to look at it that way, and for a short term, like I actually considered, actually going to play football, but it was just overall of me just knowing that my heart was with basketball. I definitely was dedicated more to that, so that's what made the decision.
So if you think you could have pursued that, obviously that could have been something that you would have been great at. 6'7", you would have been one of the bigger players out there. How good do you think that could have been? Like, how close were you ever doing? Like, when was the point you started saying, okay, I want to pursue basketball as opposed to football? Like, when did that time come?
I want to say that right before my senior year of high school, I sat down with my parents, my
Mhm.
high school coaches, and at the point of time in summer, I felt like I wanted to play football, and it just came down to like me. I think I went to practice one day for basketball, and I just sat there and deeply thought about it, and I was like, I think I want to do basketball over football. So that's pretty much how I decided on to go to the basketball route.
Was there ever a point you said, I could possibly play two sports? I know there's some guys that do take that route. Like, was that something you ever said, I could play both sports at the college level?
Yeah, I could have like it was a few schools that offered me both. Obviously Mississippi State, Georgia Tech, and Florida State. But I just thought like I feel like I needed to take one more serious. I feel like at the college level you can't really, give half and half. Just
Mhm.
like the competition, time wise, and like classes and stuff like that. So I definitely, thought about playing both, but I thought it would be too hard, so I just decided to choose one.
Well, let's go into what you're known for, and that's basketball. So you're at Morgan County and decide to take a decision where you stay at one school for 4 years. And we know a lot of guys today like to transfer around, like to go to bigger schools, but you choose to stay at one school your entire career. But why did you choose Morgan County? Like, why is it the school you originally chose?
Well, I mean, like I said, I grew up there my whole life. You
Mhm.
know, and coming to that like that high school level, you know, I trusted what the coach had going on. You know, he had unbelievable like energy and momentum. So by the time I got to high school, you know, the program was starting to hit the success route. And I felt like, you know, me going there would help us get to the next level. And which, you know, it did. Me and a couple of other guys, we ended up winning the first state championship of that ever in history. So we did that. And you know, after that, it was just so much success after that. So, you know, that's why I definitely stayed. I chose that route and stayed.
Now, this is kind of crazy because if you look back, it's been like 8 years, 9 years ago now. But at that point in time, walking into high school, would you have seen yourself being a guy that goes down and wins two state championships in high school, and then also comes to college, plays a Division I level, and becomes one of the better players in program history?
Nah, I actually wouldn't. You know, I was kind of talking about that the other day. You know, I
Mhm.
really didn't know I could go to the next level until I received my first offer. I think it was my ninth grade year. I received the offer from Georgia Tech, and it was like at that moment, that's when everything pretty much hit, and it was like, okay, so you actually can do this. So it kind of opened up the gates and just made me work that much more harder.
Your sophomore year really was your breakout year and one of your better years of high school. You ended up averaging 16 points, 7 rebounds, a couple of assists, a steal, and a block per game. But also, like you said, you win the first state championship, and that's something that everyone kind of dreams of as a kid. So take us to that year and what was like coming out winning a state championship?
Well, like I said, you know, our coach definitely instilled in us that you know we could do it.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie and say like obviously throughout the season we know we was a good team, but you know never going to that level of like competition and that stage, you
Mhm.
know, it was kind of hard to believe, especially since I was young. So we kind of just took it one game at a time, and it was like after we took it one game at a time, you know, you was there, like you was at the state championship. So it was like, dang, we're here, like we actually can do it. So everything like coach was saying, like throughout the whole season, it was like, okay, he was actually right. So you know, that definitely led up to that last game, and we did what we had to do. So after that, I'm like, we actually all believe, like, okay, we can do this. We can continue to do this.
That same year, you guys also added in someone that I'm sure you guys go pretty close bond with, and you guys end up winning another state championship later with. And that's Boreas. Walk us through playing with him, and what was like kind of adding him into that group?
Yeah. Well, that's my best friend, my cousin. You know, we grew up together. Always played with each other through rec, like AAU, summer leagues, and stuff like that. So with him, you know, we pretty much have a chemistry that a lot of guys could never have. So
Mhm.
playing with him, you know, it definitely motivated me to be better, and vice versa with him. We would go at it, you know, compete with each other every day in practice. It was never any like envy or hate or anything like that. We were just trying to make each other better. So when you have a guy like that on your team, you know, it makes things definitely easy. You know, you got one guy with the same mindset. So winning with him 2 times in a row, it was special.
When you look back at your time with him, what would you say is your favorite memory? Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about him?
Um, First thing that comes to mind, I want to say our senior year, it was the Final Four,
Hmm.
and we had been playing, and somehow the other team ended up hitting a three, and it tied it up at the last minute, and we had like 2 or 3 seconds left, and we got the ball up the court. He just like he launched one from like half, probably like the volleyball line,
Hmm.
and making all I could think of was like, dang, I'm so glad he made it because I definitely wasn't trying to play overtime, you know,
Hmm.
because everybody was tired. Like it was a comeback win, so he made it, and that's probably the memory I think about when I first think about him.
As you said, then is the point you decide, okay, I'm gonna try football out. I'll play a year with them, see what goes on. But also, like you said, that it is challenging too because you have to balance now two sports. Obviously, you can't just focus on basketball now. How'd you balance both sports that year?
Well, at the high school level, it's kind of easy.
Hmm.
You kind of know what your schedule is. Not traveling like a college athlete would be traveling.
Hmm.
So it was pretty much easy. You know, one sport ends, the next one starts. Unlike like college, if you go to a Power 5 school such as like Florida State at that time, they were getting deep in the playoffs, and they was actually playing late January. But like in college, basketball starts up at the end of November, so it's like the two seasons kind of conflict with one another. So it wasn't like that in high school. So that's what I think made it easy.
If you look at yourself, and obviously basketball's the route you chose, I'm sure you're happy with that. But if you would have played on the field, though, like I said, you're 6'7", you would have been one of the bigger guys out there. Probably would have been even more than 220 pounds that you are at right now. How good do you think you could have been?
I think the sky's the limit with it.
Mhm.
The athletic ability and every natural talent that I needed.
Mhm.
I feel like with those things, I had so many things that you can't teach. So I feel like if I would have actually took it serious, worked on my game and stuff like that, then I think I could be in the NFL right now.
Was there any point through your college career that you're like, you know what if I did play football? Like, was this something you ever looked at and said, maybe I can go out, ask the coaches about, maybe look at football? Did you ever consider that once you were in college?
Um, I didn't really consider it, but once Lane Kiffin made the move down to Florida Atlantic,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely talked to some of the coaches. They wanted me to come out, but I never really seriously considered it. But it was an option.
Absolutely. Well, let's go into that senior year because you make another state championship run that year, 26-4. You pass the 2,000 point marker for you. You become one of the greater players, if not the greatest player in school history. You win 3A Player of the Year. Take us through that senior year for you.
Well, like that season actually started off bumpy. I want to say we lost like the first three
Mhm.
games of the season. So a lot of people thought like, okay, they weren't going to be able to do it again, this and that. So we kind of just had a reality check. We had a meeting with everyone,
Mhm.
um, and I think after that we went. I want to say we won 24 games straight, and we only ended up losing once before the second half of the season, and that was the last time we lost that season. So I think like definitely that losing kind of motivated us to stay consistent with our approach and know like that we're beatable. I think we were riding on a high horse. We kind of already expected to win the state championship and things like that. So I think that kind of humbled us. So after that, we really didn't have any more lapses, mental or physical. And we just took it one game at a time once we got to the state playoffs, and luckily, like we was able to win it.
You mentioned the team meeting, and that's something that works for some situations. Sometimes it doesn't work. When you're in a losing situation, you lose so many games straight. Sometimes those meetings can kind of help you guys get together and start winning games. Sometimes it doesn't always work. What led to that one working? Like, how are you guys able to come together and really turn the whole season around and ultimately reach the ultimate goal for you guys?
Well, I think we had multiple guys on the team on the same page. So, if you get those guys on board and you sit everyone down and say, hey, right now it's not going how it's supposed to go. Like we got to lock in, we got to focus, this and that. Is like everyone's gonna listen, especially because we had a lot of young guys. They had never been to that level before, so it's like if they have the right example, they're gonna follow. So we had 3 or 4 guys on the team like that. That was all on the same page, so it kind of made it easier to get the message across and get everybody on board.
Let's walk this recruiting process for you because obviously it is a good one for you. You have some different offers on the table, but you ultimately do choose Florida Atlantic. Why is that the school you chose?
Because it started to get late. I was still trying to figure out if I wanted to play football or basketball.
Hmm.
So a lot of schools, they went their separate ways. But at FAU, like I knew my head coach from my freshman and sophomore year. He was on the staff there. Then I also had like DeVorius, he had committed to FAU, and I also had a previous teammate that played with me in high school that was already on the team. So,
Hmm.
it kind of felt like home. Like I knew I was going there in a good situation with people I knew, people I trust. So I felt like that was the best decision for me at the time.
You could have went to bigger schools at least earlier too if you really wanted to, but you choose Florida Atlantic, which ultimately isn't the highest of high schools, but you choose the best fit, and clearly you had an incredible career there. But take us through that because a lot of guys look at just looking the big names right out the gate, looking for the biggest schools. What led to you choosing the best fit for yourself?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys do, get caught up on the name of the school and the university. And some guys it actually works out for. But like
Mm-hmm.
even when I was making my decision, I wanted to make sure that I played immediately once I got to school. A lot of guys take that for granted by trying to pick a bigger school. But being able to play immediately, that's better than going somewhere and sitting because you get that experience. So just having those conversations with the coaches, they all they wanted me to do is come in and work hard. They said if I work hard, everything would take care of itself. So I think I ended up averaging like 25 minutes a game as a freshman, which is a lot. I think the average of like minutes a game as a freshman maybe like 11 or something like that, unless you're like like you special, you like a one
Mm-hmm.
and done. So I definitely just wanted to wherever I went, I wanted to actually play as soon as I got there.
Now, your first 2 years weren't the most successful in terms of team wins those years, but you do obviously get to come through. Like you said, you get a lot of minutes right out the gate. But walk us through that entire first season, though. You're under with Coach Curry. Walk us through that first season, though.
Um, that first season it was kind of bumpy, just a young kid coming to college trying to get a feel for the game, not really knowing how fast and what pace the game is played at.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a while, to I had some early on success. I want to say in the first like 5 or 6 games, I think I was averaging about 17 points a game.
Yep.
And then like once you start having success like that, you go up on the scout report. Something you weren't on in high school as much. Like you had scout reports, but it wasn't detailed.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of guys started keying in on me, and I had to try to figure out a way to adjust to it on the fly. And I think that's what pretty much helped me become a better player, knowing like, okay, you got to adjust. Like you're not gonna be able to get this shot. You're not gonna be able to go this way, this and that. So just being in those situations, I think, kind of helped me get to the point where I'm at now. And I felt like those ups and downs that I had through the season made me the player I am today.
At that point, walking into freshman year, could you have seen yourself being a guy that goes down sixth most points in school history, fourth most rebounds, 10th most assists in school history, amongst pretty much the leaderboard in every stat category? Like, do you think you were going to cement yourself as one of like the best player to come through your school?
I mean, I know I could be a great player, but I never really read into all those things at that point.
Mhm.
I just take everything one step at a time, one day at a time. So, like looking back now and thinking like I would be one of the top guys in every category. I don't think I would have thought of it like that.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, you go out there and you start off the season pretty hot, especially once you start, you get 5 straight games of double digits. Take us through that first day that when Coach Curry came and told you, all right, we need you starting now. That's pretty early on in the season. What was your reaction? How'd that all go through?
We were actually, I want to say, we had just got done playing, and because we were playing in like a tournament. Oh, we had 3 games in like Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First 2 games I didn't start, but like I played a lot, so it wasn't an issue or anything. But I think he knew like we dropped the first 2 games, so it was like we got to make a change. And that third game before, he came up and talked to me and said, "Hey, we're gonna start you this and that. I just need you to keep doing the same thing. Don't get complacent and things like that." Actually ended up playing pretty good, and the rest was history. After that, I started the rest of the season and had a lot of success.
You go out there and you score 21 points against UT Martin. That's really the first game that people are like, okay, you can be pretty special at the next level. Like you can really dominate. Take us to that first game. It was November 29th. Walk us to that first game where you dropped 20 plus.
I just remember going in the game and I just want to do all the small things. As a freshman, you coming in, a lot of teams already have their guys,
Mhm.
who they want to go through this and that was fine. But I came in and just honestly played my role, like did all the dirty work. I fell into a couple of easy baskets. Then I actually started getting a rhythm. So I started actually scoring. And I think by me just sitting there not worrying about scoring, I actually scored more. So I think that helped me out in the long run.
The year comes to a close and you get ready for your sophomore year then. And obviously, like I said, you guys were 10 and 20 the past year. Obviously, you guys wanted some change that year to be a little more successful. But walk us through that next season. Like, how are you getting preparing for that? And really, what was your approach for your sophomore year?
My approach to my sophomore year was just to be ready. As a freshman, you don't really know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But after that freshman year, I knew like, okay, this is what I'm probably going to see every night, this and that. So I just wanted to develop my game in ways that I could adjust and always be effective no matter what, the other team's playing, the scout report is and stuff like that.
We know as a basketball player, your goal isn't to go lose games. You want to go out there and win them. So it had to be hard on you going 10-20 your first year, 12 and 19 your second year. How did you handle that? And how did the locker room as a whole handle that?
It was tough for me. It was a new experience for me. In high school, I never really lost. I think the most losses I may have had in the season was like 6.
Mm-hmm.
So it was something that I definitely wasn't used to. So just me being like frustrated about that, I would voice that in the locker room, and like we got to figure something out, you know. But I think like a lot of guys, kind of got complacent with it, and kind of lost confidence and stuff like that. So it was kind of tough to try to get guys on the same page.
I asked you this question before in terms of you had that sit down talk and it worked for you in high school. And obviously, I can imagine you guys had to at least have a couple of those talks during those first 2 years. What was the difference like? You kind of just mentioned some guys got complacent with it, but what's the difference between when it did work? What were those conversations like in high school then, as opposed to when it didn't really obviously work in the first couple of years of college?
I think it was just basically rolling on the team. Like in high school, I was the guy for our team. I was like the oldest on our team, so it was like easier to talk to younger guys and get them on
Mhm.
board. But like coming in as a freshman and a sophomore, you got a lot of older guys that have played more than you, this and that. So it's kind of tough to get a lot of guys to listen and just actually let it like settle in and be like, okay, like he's right. So I think that was a bit of an issue. Like I don't think we had like selfish guys on the team and stuff like that, but just
Mhm.
from that standpoint of listening to someone younger than you is kind of hard, like for anyone. So I think that definitely was like an issue.
Your junior season really was a year change for yourself. You had a lot of stuff going on that year. The biggest one, well, one of the biggest ones I should say, would be your coaching change, and that's not always easy for a lot of guys. But ultimately, like we talked about already, 2 losing seasons, a new coach comes in, Coach May, who allows you guys to go over 500 now. You follow the rest of your college career, but walk through the decision because a lot of guys, even before this year, if it's a coaching change, look to transfer out, go look at different options. You decided to come back. You decided to stay at school. Walk us through that whole process of learning about the new coaching change and all that.
But it was shocking, knowing that the coaching staff that came in with was leaving. But like you said, a lot of guys put their name in the transfer portal. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. A new coach coming in, you have to get recruited. He have to like look at you and see what you can do. So I didn't want to like immediately like leave. I just wanted to kind of give him a chance and see how he could help me in my game, and just take advantage of the recruiting process. He didn't know me, I didn't know him, so it was kind of like it was a clean slate. So we had a talk. I asked him what he wanted from me, and I basically just told him, if I'm here, I'm going to work hard and be committed to the program. I only have 2 years left, so I have to make something happen. And me and him was on the same page. He told me, I feel like you're gonna be our leading scorer, our leading rebounder. He said, I just need you to work hard and just trust in us. And that was all I had to hear, honestly.
You just mentioned kind of a funny part that you said at that time you only have 2 years remaining. We do know that you end up getting hurt. We're talking about a second there, but that gives you a whole nother season. And now that you have another season because of the COVID situation, could you imagine still having 4 more years at that point in time?
Nah, like I thought in a year or two, like I thought I was gonna be gone either professionally or just be done with school. So
Hmm.
just looking back now, it's like, yeah, dang, I had 3 or 4 more years to play. So it was kind of crazy.
So what's the difference? Obviously, there's different situations, so we can't completely judge on that. But when you look at two different coaches, Coach Curry's out there, and you guys obviously have a solid-ish first 2 years, though you as a person was decent. But then all of a sudden, Coach May comes in. You guys have three over 500 years, a lot more success at the team. What was the difference in like the coaching schemes?
I mean, it was pretty much similar. Only thing I would say was different was the pace.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Curry, he liked to play at a slower pace,
Hmm.
and run offensive sets almost every possession. With Coach May, he wants to get it out and score in transition. take advantage, the defense trying to get back and stuff like that. So I would say that's pretty much the difference in the game plans and how they coach.
So you start settling down. You know that you have a new coach now. You're still staying at Florida Atlantic, and you're off to by far your best start of your college career. You're having 19 points, 8 rebounds, have massive, huge games. We'll talk about in a second too. But we ultimately know that it comes to a close. Then you get injured. You have to miss the rest of the season. You redshirt that season. How this all come to you? Because like I said, you're playing at a high level right now. How'd you deal with the injury?
I mean, at first it was tough to like, accept it because it was like, dang, like this year is the first year like I'm actually having a lot of success.
Mm-hmm.
My name is like buzzing. Everybody kind of knows what's going on. Like, wow, this happened now. So it took me a while to kind of like accept that for what it was. And I had to stop feeling sorry for myself and just say, hey, it happened, you can't change it. So there's no reason to think about it. So just take it a day at a time, get back healthy, and then, we're gonna play again. So that's basically what I had to tell myself.
What led to that breakout? Because you start off 21 points, 12 rebounds against Florida Tech. That's your very first double-double. Then you get 28 points against Bethune. How were you able to play at this high of a level out of your junior year?
I think it was just me buying into a fresh start, with Coach May. He told me if I play hard, if I do this and I do that, I'm gonna be successful. So that's with him coming in and having a fresh start. I think I was able to buy in sooner. And I think that's where all my success came from.
Then comes the game that we just talked about where you do get hurt against Arkansas State. You're also off to a hot start in that game, but how did the injury go down? Take us to that play and what's really all that happened in that game.
Yeah. Well, actually, like, I was playing pretty good that game, but I kept missing a lot of bunnies. So I was missing a lot of close shots and stuff like that. So on the play, I was going in for an offensive rebound. And I can remember thinking, okay, I've been missing a lot of like putbacks, little 2-foot layups and stuff like that. So I got it. And, in my head, I was like, okay, just go dunk it. So I went up to go dunk it. And I made contact with one of the guys on the way up.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up trying to dunk it, got fouled, and I came down because my body was off balance. And, as soon as I landed, I felt something wasn't right. So I fell to the floor, grabbed my knee. And after that, they took me to the back. And, they said it wasn't, they said everything was still intact, this and that. So I thought, at first I thought I was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say we got back that next week and got an MRI and stuff like that. And like they told me like I had torn my ACL.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, we know for a lot of guys, there's two early routes you take with an injury. One is you kind of get depressed about it. It's unfortunate. Other way, it's obviously not something you want to have happen. But a lot of times, guys say, okay, at this point in time, I know I have about a year or so that I can't play the game of basketball. I can learn something. I can kind of watch the game from a different angle, different perspective. How did you kind of adjust to that when you got the injury? How did you adjust your game, and how that ultimately even benefits you for the rest of your career?
I think it benefited me in a way that a lot of guys don't look at. When everything's going good for you, it's easy to sit here and cheer guys on, lead and be like that constant reminder that a lot of guys need on the court. But when things go wrong, it's common to go mute, not say anything, not communicate in any ways like that. So at that time, I was obviously still frustrated and upset about my injury, but I was like, hey, like I knew I still had a big impact on the team. And I just wanted to take advantage of that. Even if I was hurt, I wanted to make sure guys were still doing what they're supposed to do and help them be the best, person of themselves. So I just wanted to keep talking to guys and keep them encouraged and just kept motivating guys to do what they do.
Then your redshirt junior year, which also is your senior year of college, then you kind of coming out, you eventually hit your 1,000 career point marker against UTSA. Walk us through that night, though, because that's something that all guys would love to hit, the 1K marker. You did 2K in high school, but what was that night like?
Honestly, I knew I was a few points away from it, but during the game, I wasn't thinking about it like that. I just wanted to go out and do what I had to do for our team to win. So, I really wasn't consumed with that at the moment
Mm-hmm.
until after the game, they mentioned it. I was like, okay, that's pretty special. So it was definitely unforgettable moment.
So did you have any idea, like, so you kind of said you knew you were a couple points away from it, but did you know exactly how close you were? And once it happened, did they stop the game and tell you, or did you wait till after the game to finally learn it?
I waited till after the game to learn it because I think I scored right over the 1,000 point mark with like maybe a minute left. So
Mhm.
the game was over with for the most part. I really wasn't thinking about it. So I found out afterwards. But yeah, knew I was a few points away because I think I had seen something online like a couple games prior. I think it was like 35 or 36 points away. So
Mhm.
I knew I was close, but I didn't know I was that close that night.
You also had a special game that year. You returned back home for a game to go against Mercer, and you get 21 points, 8 rebounds. First time returning home to play since high school. What was that night like?
It was one to remember. It was definitely one for the books. Just being that close to home, a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people from my hometown were able to come see me. Like throughout my 4 years at FAU, a lot of people weren't able to come. It would be, strictly my family, like a couple of close friends.
Yeah.
But being right down the road, everyone came out and showed support. So it was a great feeling just to put on the show for those guys.
Now, in hindsight, you now know that you're going to be playing an entire season out there in Georgia. Could you ever imagine that? Obviously, you never knew there was going to be a whole transfer thing open up and the whole being able to play because of COVID. But have you ever even thought out the idea of playing back home? And was that ever even a reality for you? Like, could you ever imagine that you'll be playing at the University of Georgia eventually?
I never looked at it like that. I always knew like the opportunity if I got it, it would definitely be something that I considered.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I never looked at it like, okay, I'm gonna play, I'm gonna come home and play until like a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago before I made my decision.
So then you're going through this entire year, and we know COVID shuts everything down. You're also sitting in a position where you don't know what's next for you. You know, there's COVID locked in for about 6 or so months. But what was your mentality as an athlete when you see, okay, you're gonna be getting locked down, we're in quarantine? What were the biggest things you worked on, improved on during that time?
I honestly took that time to just help me mentally. Like I just trying to work on mental health and things like that because like we didn't have a lot of access to gyms. They had started closing down like black tops, like the courts at the park and stuff like that. So it really wasn't a lot that we could do. So I just took some time to myself. I would work out in my room, like dumbbells and things like that. But a lot of time I would just sit there, and work on mental health, whether that was reading a book or just meditating or something like that. That would keep me positive.
You now had 4 entire years that are normal seasons. You don't have to deal with the COVID protocols, the COVID testing, all the locker room stuff. So how did you adjust this past year? What was like dealing with all the COVID stuff?
It was frustrating at times. I think we would have to at one point we were getting tested once a week, and it went up to like 3 times a week. Um, some days you had to get up at 6 in the morning. You would have practice until 11. You had to go get tested at 6, so the test could get in time to clear you for the game or practice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely was like frustrating at times, but you definitely was able to get used to it after a while.
So this past year, then you go out there, you guys go 13 and 10, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists season. Pretty solid year for yourself. Take us to this past senior year for you.
I mean, I think we prepared ourselves for the season as best as we could. It was definitely hard to get a flow that we needed to be more successful. I think at one point in time, like mid-season, we didn't play for like 5 weeks
Mm-hmm.
because other teams were getting COVID. I had to cancel the game, so it was definitely like hard to get a flow. We practiced a lot through those 5 weeks, but it isn't the same as the game. You in a game, you play against different guys. It's another level of competition. Whereas in like practice, play with these guys kind of every day, this and that. So sometimes that competitive spirit goes down. It's not always consistent, but so I think that definitely hurt us just being out of flow for like 5 weeks. But other than that, I think we pretty much had a lot of success throughout the season.
That's the big break because I know a lot of teams, majority, only I think besides maybe 2 or 3 programs in the entire country, didn't have to deal with a massive break. But when you're an athlete and you know consistency is maybe the biggest part of any athlete's life, how much does that throw you off when you're talking about going, you're middle of the season, you're in game shape, and then you have to, like you said, you sit down for an entire month, more than a month. How do you get back on the court, get focused, get locked back in after a month break?
That's the tough part.
Mhm.
Like you practice, guys go to practice. Well, they have to go to practice, but go to practice knowing like, okay, at the end of the week, I'm playing a game, so you got something to look forward to. So
Mhm.
us, it was like, okay, we would practice the whole week, and a day before the game, our coach would get a call, and it's like, okay, we're not playing this week. So it would kind of be like, I don't know, like it would have an effect on everybody. Like, dang, like we practiced hard, this and that. We made a game plan for these guys, but yet we're not playing. So it was kind of hard to kind of keep guys be like, okay, we got to stay motivated, we got to stay focused, this and that. Just because it's tough, you working your butt off a whole week and a half before a game, and then at the last minute they decide that you're not playing it.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of guys kind of lost a little bit of focus throughout the whole thing. But once we got back, we was able to pick it up pretty fast and, get back on track with everything.
Well, let's go back before we go to Georgia now. Let's look over your entire FAU career. And this obviously was a special one. I mentioned all the records you've set yourself in, all the numbers, 1,000 career points, all the stuff you just achieved. What would you say is the most memorable record you have? Like the biggest thing that you put your name in history for? Which one means the most to you?
Um, I think it'll probably be the rebounding category. Um, just because a lot of guys don't look at that as a special thing to do, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's tough to rebound, at any position. So just saying, like, I think I'm like number three all
Mm-hmm.
time or something like that. It's definitely special to see that. Just because a lot of guys don't value it as much. And knowing like I'm in the top 10, I think, in scoring as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but that doesn't stand out to me because I know everybody wants to score. That's any like human nature for any guy that plays basketball. So just to go down in history as for one of the things that a lot of guys don't value, I felt pretty special about that.
That's one thing I like about you because, like you said, obviously you can score the ball. Yes, you can pass the ball. You can do a lot of different aspects on the court, but you are a great rebounder. And rebounding is something that ultimately comes down to how much you want it. We know a lot of things come down to your skill, a lot of stuff like that. But rebounding is all about effort because you're not the tallest guy in the world. You're 6'7", but you go out there and you still have averaged a ton of rebounds per game. Always been one of the top rebounders on every team you're on. Talk about that pride a little bit. Like, what does it take to become an elite rebounder?
It takes a lot. A lot of people don't realize that you actually got to have a mindset for rebounding. You got to be able to see, pretty much come up with how the ball may come off. You definitely got to attack it. That's offensively, defensively. It's actually a lot of energy. That you pretty much explode in almost every possession to try to go get a rebound. So for me, I just looked at it as, okay, if I get the rebound, I can start the break. I can start the offense. I can kind of control things. So that was my motivation to get every rebound that I could, and get a few possessions where I know like I'm in control of it and I can make a play for someone or make a play for myself.
What would you say is your favorite memory from your college career so far?
Um, I would say my it wasn't well, it was technically my senior year, but my red shirt junior year, right after the injury, we were playing against Middle Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and like some reason, like for that game, we couldn't make shots. Guys were playing hard, but we couldn't make shots. The other team was making every shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say like with 4 minutes to go, we were down like 13, and we ended up making a run, and we came back, and it ended up leading to like me taking the three at the like 2 seconds left to tie the game up, and which sent us to overtime, and we ended up coming back and winning the game in overtime. So I think that was one of my best memories, just knowing like everybody was on the same page. Everybody stayed together throughout the good and the bad. So that was pretty special to me.
Absolutely. Let's get into this big move now. As we talked about earlier, you're returning back home, playing at Georgia, but you're going to be coached by a special coach, and Coach Crean obviously has an incredible history. How excited for that? And talk about you guys bond a little bit. Like, how has that grown down the past few weeks since you guys started talking?
Yeah, me and Coach Crean, we pretty much talk every other day. He's always sending me clips and footage of like guys that he's coached in the past, and just constantly telling me, how he can help me take my game to that next level, and develop me as a player. So anything with that has to do with me becoming a better player, I'm all ears, I'm all in for it.
Mhm.
So just having those conversations with him give me a lot of confidence of what my game can be.
Now, Georgia fans aren't probably as happy exactly right now with the transfers coming out, but we have the excitement of you. We have Braylon, Jabri, Noah, a couple of the guys coming in. Why should Georgia fans be excited about this recruiting class and the guys coming in for next year?
I think there's a lot of guys coming in with a point to prove, so I should be excited about that, knowing like guys are coming in, with the right mindset, want to get into work and try to get the program to where it's supposed to be.
There's going to be a lot more guys that come in. As we just heard about today this morning, Sahvir has decided to transfer out right now. He's declaring for the draft as well. A few of the guys have moved out recently, but who else are you guys targeting? Is there anyone else that you're aware of that you'd like to possibly play with or that you'd like to possibly bring into the program that Coach Crean has talked to you about that could be added on to this group?
It's no one that we talked about. I try to leave that aspect of the game to the coaches, and just control what I can control. So, no, it's no one that we really talked about that that they're thinking about bringing in. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm ready and prepared for when it's time for me to be there.
When that first game does come, like I said earlier, hopefully, and the expectation is that there will be fans out there, packed out arena. What's it going to be like first game night back at home? You put that jersey on, you probably dreamed of watching growing up, and you get to go out in the stadium and see all the fans. What's going to go through your mind that night?
I'm gonna just try to cherish it,
Mhm.
take in the moment of the game, good or bad, just knowing that it's a homecoming for me. A lot of guys don't get to do this, so just honestly just trying to cherish it moment by moment, minute by minute, and
Mhm.
just I'll be fine with the outcome, just knowing that all the work that I put in, win or lose, just knowing it's the opportunity that you came back home. So that's what I think it'll boil down to.
Was Georgia your dream school growing up? Like, was that the school you always like watching, kind of dreamed of playing at?
Yeah, growing up 20 minutes down the road from it, you see a
Mhm.
lot of football, basketball, like UGA. So it's like you always have that in your head, like, okay, I want to go there. So that was my first option growing up, thinking like, okay, I want to be here, this and that. So just having that chance to go there now, I feel like I had to take advantage of it.
Now, we have talked about a few different things that you bring to the team, but give Georgia fans that haven't got to see much yet, like, what will you be bringing to Georgia this upcoming season?
Just a lot of energy, a lot of experience, leadership, and just a guy about all the right stuff. So I think that's going to help us. That's going to help other players, and overall leads to like success of the season.
Is there one word that you could use to describe you, like the whole package of you, both on and off the court? What's that one word that's going to describe who you are?
Um, I would say relentless.
Mhm.
Always trying to get the job, no matter what it is, and never really giving up and staying consistent throughout the whole thing.
Absolutely, man. Well, a couple more things before I let you go. One of which is you have something put in your bio, and that's currently dreaming. Take us through what that means and why it's there.
Because I feel like that your whole life you pretty much in a dream. You constantly thinking about the future or how you want to develop yourself and better yourself.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's the dream. You continue to dream. Obviously, like parts of the dream will start to come true. That'll be reality. But you dream it. I feel like you dream it, you receive it, like you believe it. You believe it, you end up receiving it. So that's kind of why it's in my bio. To keep dreaming, keep making improvements to your life, and just continue to going on with your life.
Absolutely, man. Well, I was like wrapping up discussing a legacy because that's something I know that all guys want to create for themselves. So when you are done playing basketball, what do you want to be remembered for what you achieve both on and off the court?
Just a guy that gave it his all, and made a impact while he was there. But that was on the court, off the court, to the program in any way. Because I feel like those guys that have that value and make an impact, they always end up being successful in life, whether it's basketball or getting a job somewhere. Because it's kind of hard to teach that. I would say that consistent rate of dedication. A lot of guys don't have it, I think a lot of guys take advantage of that. Well, they should take advantage of that, and trying to create that habit for themselves.
No doubt, man. One final thing for you. Give Georgia fans your three biggest goals you have set for your one season out there.
Um, to come in, I would say my biggest goal would just be to come in and win. Like I said, get the program back to where it's supposed to be. Um, definitely make some noise. I want to go to the NCAA tournament and actually make a run in the tournament. But I think that would be my two goals. That's not three, but like two goals would just be to win and get to the NCAA tournament and get the program back to where it's supposed to be.
Absolutely, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking time to come on today. Congrats on the big move again, and I look forward to seeing what guy I got next for you, man.
All right, thank you.
Of course, well, come on, man. God bless.
All right, you too.